we're good now.
You already signed my name too.
No, that'd be fraud.
Bill, I took that performance management class with Lori last week.
Yeah.
You were definitely the topic with all of those ladies.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah. From Wagner to Spencer, they all had plenty to say about it.
Everybody can serve as a bad example. Madam Clerk, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready when you guys are.
Good.
Do you need to call the meeting to order and do roll and stuff like normal?
Yep, let's go ahead and get started that way. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let's go ahead and do roll call.
Terry Lamar,
Here.
Troy Shropshire,
Here.
Dennis Nance, Travis Malure,
Here.
Randy Chitwood, Charles Trammell,
Here.
Chris Gonthier,
Here.
Bruce Smith.
Here.
I'm gonna draft your help, so
PD.
Okay.
something seems important, write it on the back of that.
Okay, I can do that.
I'll leave it up to you, what seems important. Mayor, thanks for letting me be here today. My name's Bill Tackett. I appeared before you all recently with the Oklahoma Municipal Natural Gas Coalition, the OMNGC, which you all were good enough to join, and we appreciate working with Jared and his group as we work to get that interlocal off the ground. So I hold two different hats. I work for OMAG. OMAG is the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group. We are your insurance company, and you get your liability, property, workers' comp, K-9 mortality, surety bonds, airport liability, and all those kinds of things from us. Now, so I'll be a little Ronald Reagan with you. We're your insurance company, but we're not a insurance company. So we're government doublespeak for you. We're a Title 74 interlocal cooperative act agency. We're formed under Title 74, and we got started in 1974 when Choctaw Village, two suburbs of Oklahoma City, couldn't get their insurance quotes in time to make their budget. They got aggravated with it. They signed the interlocal. The Attorney General said okay, and here we go. So we started with two towns 46 years ago, June 1st, 1977. And so while you get our insurance products from us, we're actually a public entity risk pool. Every state in the union except Hawaii has some form of what we do. So in Oklahoma, the counties have their own, the schools have their own, cities and towns have their own. From those two cities and towns, we have 500 cities and towns that belong to us. We were created by cities and towns. We're owned by cities and towns, including Pryor. And we're governed by a 7-member board of trustees. When you guys adjourn this meeting, you go into your other meeting, your hat says trustee on it. And so, so although you get your insurance products from us, we're not a private company. We don't have to pay dividends to shareholders and that kind of thing. And so over the many years, we've decided that instead of having to return dividends to shareholders, we can return value to our members, and we like to do that for things that address risk exposures. We think the best-run cities and towns have fewer claims, and the claims they have cost less money to resolve. And so there's one training that's required by state law, and you guys go to it. It's the newly elected officials training. The municipal league puts it on. We don't fuss with it. We think it's fine. We've done this kind of training in this format for about 6 years now, but we've done this training with our partner David Weatherford for 12 or better years. So you got the B team tonight. David and his team are up in the Wild Wild West. They're up in Woodward doing this training tonight, and you guys drew the short straw, so congratulations on that. But this is the workbook we'll go through. The things that we have prepared are all David Weatherford's intellectual property, workmanship. David went to University of Tulsa to get his law degree, a graduate of Oklahoma State University. He started being a city attorney in 1988, and he's currently a city attorney for Arcoma, Manford, Mounds, and Sand Springs. He's been doing it for a long, long time. He's really not a partner, he's part of the family at this point. And so we brought this training several years ago. I can't remember how long ago, it was a while. And David was here for that. We've got a workbook we'll look through. We'll take a stability test. You guys are a very unique organization. You guys are listed as a strong mayor form of government. Out of the 500 cities and towns, there's 8 strong mayor forms of government. And as far as I know, only one of them is west of 35. So there's not very many of y'all in this form of government. Most of your strong mayor and your aldermanic forms of government are over here on the east side of the state. The east side of the state's older than the west side and the south side, so it seems like this was a form of government that's older and was here back in the day. But regardless of the form of government, I think what we'll talk about today generally applies to any forms of government. And we're a little bit of an extra hurdle in municipal government because there is one form of county government, there is one form of school government, and there's 5 forms of municipal government. Really 4, but if you have a charter, I'll call that 5. And I believe you guys do have a charter here.
Yes.
So a charter is the city's constitution. It's voted on by the electors. The people who live here can be amended or done away with by a vote of the people. But until they do, that's our city charter. That's our governing constitution. We also have to follow the state statutes, as you guys know. So get ready. We might say something important.
Okay.
Nothing so far has been important. That's why that page is blank. So why don't we do something that seems maybe not that helpful, but it might be. Why don't we start over here? I think you've served a long time, maybe 2 hitches if I remember right from the last time.
Yes, sir.
And why don't you tell me why you serve, why you wanted to serve and why you serve now. Get ready to write something down.
The reason I wanted to serve is that I saw that the city was going in the wrong direction,
Okay?
and I thought maybe I could make a difference with
Okay.
being councilman.
And how long have you been on this go-around?
Well, I was on the first time 8 years, and now this time, like 4 or 5 months, 6 months, something like that.
Okay, so. Chris?
I'm different probably. I really didn't want to run, but I felt like there was a need. And so I ran because I felt like the city needed someone to help push things in a positive direction. Things that were concerning to me, and so I ran.
And how long has your tenure been?
This is my first, I'm up for re-election next cycle. You know, in December, I guess, is when we'd file, so
You served 4 years?
2,
2? So you're a year and a half into it?
basically, and we're staggered, so every year, one of the 2 in the ward drops off or gets re-elected.
Mr. Trammell?
Yes, I ran because I was a little, kind of like Bruce, I was a little concerned with the direction of the city under the previous administration. So, and I do have a budgeting and auditing background, so I thought I could apply those skills here.
And how long's your tenure been?
3 months.
Mr. Mueller?
I'm filling in at the end of another person that left, I guess. He left. He left, okay, that's a nice way. And so I'm just filling in the last year of his term, and so I've been here since April. And I wanted to join, when I was asked, I was thought about it. Pryor's been really good to myself, my family, and thought it'd be a chance to give something back.
Well, so far we got some pretty green tomatoes up here.
Yep.
I know you've served for a while.
Yeah, about 5 years. To be real, you want a real honest story of how I got into office?
Yeah, paper won't write it down, so.
Oh, well, okay. But anyway, I was sitting out at break room in GRDA one morning, and a lady walked up and she said, "You're in Ward 1, aren't you?" And I said, yeah. She said, you ever thought about being councilman? I said, no. And so that afternoon at 2 o'clock, I got a phone call from HR there at GRDA, and they said, well, congratulations, you're a councilman. I said, I am? And they said, yeah. And then I got a call from the mayor and said, I'll be by to sign the paperwork when you get home from work. But like always, if I'm asked to do something or try to do something, I'm gonna do the best job I can. So that's why I stayed. That's why I stayed with it.
Voluntold works. She's writing a book over there. Terry,
Well, that's good.
Terry, what do you think?
Well, I first served from two-year terms from 1988 to 1992. And then I retired from the Air Force last year, and we moved back here. And I wanted to I've always loved this town. It's been my hometown. My family roots are here. And I served years ago. I've always been involved in things behind the scenes. And I wanted to come back here and get involved in the city government again because I love this town and I want to do what's best for the community and do what I can do to try to help the people.
So we got retired Air Force, we got GRDA, we got accounting and auditing. We've got a pastor that carries a gun. And what is your background, sir?
GRDA police.
Okay. And Travis?
Maintenance primarily, most of my career
Okay.
in different areas.
All right. Mayor? Why are you mayor?
Because I was elected. No, I did it because, you know, kind of like some of these gentlemen said, I love the community, and I love to serve. You know, I felt the need to step in and do what I can. Here I am.
All right, so, normally we just do multiple choice, but we're gonna have a brief essay question test. And, this quiz won't make your insurance rates go up, down, or sideways. There's not right or wrong answers. You guys in your complimentary mug have the world's best pen stuck in the top of it.
All right.
You don't get the world's best anything often, so consider yourself very fortunate today.
That's a nice
At the top of the page, you'll write down Pryor or Pryor Creek. However the spirit moves you, you'll write down how many months mostly you've been in your position. You'll be council members, you won't be public or staff or other, you'll be staff. So we won't write down individual names. Hey, what are you doing? What are you looking at?
I've got one.
All right, and then so we'll take the normal test. This test covers the 10 key areas of municipal operations. You won't answer any of the questions until I tell you how to answer them. It's like a standardized test. We'll have the pencils up and the pencils down. And so I'll tell you how to answer. We want you to take the test annually. And we'll tell you why we want you to take it annually. I don't have to be here to walk you through the test. It's not that complicated, but the value of taking it annually. So let's turn the page over, and we'll take a little essay part. We'll just write on the back of our score sheet there. And we're not looking for complete sentences, just complete thoughts. So essay question number 1, if this is more than 2 sentences, we've gone too far probably. As an elected person, what is your job? What do you think your job is as you sit around the horseshoe? What is your job? Getting close to the end of what my job is. We just use short declarative sentences, small words. Question 2. Question 1 was, what is my job? Question 2, what are my duties in my job? Question 1, what is my job? Question 2, what are my duties? It's a two-question essay test, so we're halfway through it. What is my job? What are my duties? Everybody about done? We'll give it just a minute. We're a little bit stumped when it comes to numbering our pages in our hymnals, so it looks like this, and I think it's about page 7, but it's way towards the back. It looks like this right here. You just turn a bunch of pages. No, you're getting close, keep going. Dang, you're close. One, turn one page. There we go.
Finance part, page 7.
Page
Looks like
7.
this, way towards the back. It says 7 at the bottom. Oh, you're there, you're almost there. Turn back a couple of pages. Now you're good. Keep going. I messed you up. Keep going. Keep it going. There you go. You're there. Your final page looks like this?
Yes.
All right, there we go. We're gonna make a quiz, and so, I'm gonna tell you how to answer the test. And, you're gonna mark your paper between 1 and 10. Y'all are, even some of y'all been kind of boomerang people. You've been here, left, and come back. Some of you brand new. You don't really feel like you know, just say, new or something, or take a stab at it. There's not a wrong answer, not a right answer. Question number 1 is about money. Money's always the most important thing. Does the town of Pryor have enough money to operate? And here's how you decide. A high score, 8, 9, 10, something like that, is yes, we have a written policy, hopefully in the form of a resolution, but it doesn't have to be. We have a written policy that requires at least 20% of our general fund set aside in a savings account, and we fully fund it. If you have a written policy and a 20% of your general fund in the savings account, you get 8, 9, 10. If you don't have a written policy, but you got about a 10% savings account, you're in the middle, 5, 6, something like that. If you're broke, you got a bad score, 1, 2, 3, something like that. Give yourself a score between 1 and 10, according to the parameters you see on there. Question 2, how stable is the governing body? Well, y'all pretty new, so we've had quite a bit of turnover, but here we go. High score, we have great, well-informed, engaged elected officials. When we've had elections in the recent years, most candidates have been well qualified. Y'all are judging yourselves now. And medium score is a majority are good, but we got some bad ones up there, and a low score is we need a new group. Y'all are not that good. Give yourself a score somewhere. And question 3 on the next page is meetings. How good are your meetings? High score is they're professional, business-like. You like to attend them. You don't want to miss one. You enjoy the work you do here. A medium score, something in the middle, is they're boring. Not much gets done, but you don't do a lot of damage. And a low score is the meetings are terrible. So we're on this one. How good are your meetings? And, you guys, if you're, I've been to a couple of your meetings, so I've got an opinion about them, but lots of folks have terrible meetings, so it's up to you how you judge that. Employees is the next question. We're not talking about the employees you love or the employees you hate. We're not talking about any one department or any one person. We're talking about overall. How good is the workforce? A high score, 8, 9, 10, is the employees work hard, they care about the city, they're proud of the work. Medium score is they mean well, they don't work as hard as the private sector, they don't get paid enough. Low score is we got trouble in the workforce, and it shows up because we got a lot of turnover, we get claims, work comp claims, discrimination claims. When the mayor has to go out into the labor force, try to recruit talent, he has a really hard time doing it. And so between a 1 and a 10, grade your employees, please. Question 5, public image. What does the public think about y'all? A high score is we have very little public input at meetings. Public seems to trust our elected officials, make good decisions. When we have disgruntled folks show up, they're civil and respectful. And we've got a good reputation. Medium score is public doesn't seem to care what we do and they don't pay much attention to what we do. A low score is public doesn't have much trust in what we're doing. It's pitchforks and torches and a rope. And we got low public confidence. Give yourself a score between 1 and 10. Crisis management is question 6. How well does Pryor handle a crisis? A high score is we come together as a team, work very hard, we're not afraid to ask for help. We have other folks help us. When it's over, we evaluate so we can get better. That's a high score, 8, 9, 10. Medium score is we kind of stumble through a crisis, and low score is if it's Tuesday, it's a crisis. Every day's a crisis. Turn the page in our hymnal. Question 7 is on economic development. How active are you all in economic development? I will tell you the answers to this score vary between what side of I-35 you're on generally and how close you are to a metro area. Now, over 1,000 people have taken this test, and we've given this test to 200 cities or so. Lots of folks taking this test over a long time. This test everybody takes. This test Woodward's taking right now. Well, I think right now they may be in a different time zone. It's way out there. How active are you in economic development? A high score is we work continually on economic development. We're optimistic that we're going to get some good projects landed. Medium score is if something comes along, we'll try to help. A low score is that's not our job. Frank wants to bring his wiener wagon to Pryor. He needs to bring buns, relish, mustard, and hot dogs.
And jalapenos.
We're not helping.
He's gotta bring the jalapenos, you can't.
And some jalapenos, be good. Question 8, planning and goal setting. How well do you all plan and set goals for the organization? High score is elected officials, administration, staff work well together. You've got well-defined goals that the city works to accomplish. Medium score is once in a while we get around to talking about a project we want to accomplish. Sometimes we follow through on it. A low score is I'm planning for breakfast tomorrow. That's what we're going to plan for, as far as we get. Question 9, we're almost done. Administration. How stable has your upper management been? We're not just talking about the mayor. We're talking about your department heads, your leaders. High score is management's been stable for a long time, found a way to work together, set goals, communicate well, and has ensured continuity in management. If we do have turnover, we attract good candidates. City's a good place to work and serve. Medium score is leadership changes regularly. We readjust, we take a new direction. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not.
Are you talking about elected officials, or are you talking about hired officials?
In this form of government, it would include the mayor, since you all are a strong mayor form of government.
But
Yes,
even
sir.
department heads, he said.
But it would
Yeah,
also
see, those are
include-
hired, those are hired, what you're talking about here is usually are hired positions, like our department heads and stuff like that.
Police
Not
chief,
elected.
public works director. Now, you all are a little different because your utilities, Jared and his group run that shop. So y'all a little different all the way around from what we normally see out there. But I would say it would include the mayor and the department heads. Fire chief, police chief, city clerk, planner, code enforcement director, parks and recs, sewer, water. Low score is we've got constant change and we have trouble filling the leadership. Question 10, our last question on the on the multiple choice is communication. How well do you all communicate with each other? And we're gonna talk about internal as well as external. High scores, everybody, elected officials to everybody down at the staff level knows what's going on, the major activities. And we get to exchange information up and down. Medium score is information's random, it's hit and miss, and low score is it's a mushroom factory here, it's dark, nobody knows what's going on. If you guys turn the page, it says it's page 12. You look at the page 12, you look at the top slide. We will get a composite score. Aubrey Weatherford will put a composite score together for you all, and I'll collect your papers after we talk about your essay test. These are the average, regardless of population, regardless of type of government. Across the board for the last however many years, 6, 7 years easily, this is the average. The average total score is almost 72. We've seen in the 90s, we've seen in the teens. We've seen every score in the world. The lowest score, almost always, without exception, is question number 5, public image. Doesn't matter where you're at in the state or what your population is. Public image is always the lowest score. And there's several reasons for that, I think. The highest score typically is crisis management. Government exists to deal with things that go wrong. So typically those are the things that we pay closest attention to. So when you get your composite score back, you can look and see how you compare to the state average. We want you all to take this test every year. We want you to do it because we believe the best-run cities and towns have fewer claims, and the claims they have cost less money to resolve. That's why OMAG has skin in the game. We think the best-run cities and towns have fewer claims, and the claims you do have cost less money to resolve. We have all kinds of grants and scholarships for just about everything. We have them for finance officers and treasurers. We have them for clerks. We have them for mayors. We have scholarships for you guys to go to the Municipal League Conference in Oklahoma City this year. We have them for police chiefs that get their required training. We have Lexipol that we pay for that has your mandatory policies in it. And the Lexipol program has something called the daily training bulletins, at which you train on one question daily against your policies. Somebody gets mad at the government because the police hit them with a stick or threw them in jail. One of the things they'll sue for is failure to train. Lexipol creates a record where every one of your sworn officers trains against their policy manual. And if they'll use those daily training bulletins the way they're designed, you will get 8 hours of complete training and never leave the city limits. You can get it on your phone, get it on your laptop. You have to have 24 hours of complete training annually to keep your badge. We'll give you a third of it, doesn't cost you anything. We pay for it, you never have to leave town. You take a test every day on your phone. And so now you know your policy's better, and if you get sued and they want to say we failed to train you, we say, no, we didn't. Here's the record. I think you guys have used the Sewer Line Rapid Assessment Tool, the SLRAT. If you haven't, we have those. They're at no cost to you. They will send a sound wave through your sewer pipe, your sanitary sewer pipe. They will give a number score to that sewer pipe. They will color code it, they will push it up on Google Earth, and they will overlay it on the city of Pryor, and you'll have a color-coded map of your sewer collection system. It'll go from green to yellow to red to white. And now you know where to run your camera, and now you know where to run your jet rotor, and now you know where to plan your expenditures for repair and maintenance and remediation of your sewer system. There's 3 things that cost OMAG money. Lately, last several years, there's 2 things that cost us money. We call them the 3 Ps, personnel. Somebody gets fired, they get mad, and they sue. That doesn't happen a lot anymore. Police, people get hit with a stick, or they ride the lightning, or they get shot, they get cranky, and they sue. The 3rd P is poo. That stuff crawls over the tub and down the hallway. People get cranky, and they sue. So the sewer line rapid assessment tool is an important tool for all cities and towns in the state to use. You need a color-coded map of your sewer system, and we can give that to you for free.
Have you talked to Jared about that one?
Jared knows about it, I do believe.
Okay.
And I think you guys have had it out here. But I give the same little talk everywhere I go. Kind of like the passion play, I know where I'm going, so. So, we have grants and scholarships, so if you get a new police chief, he's required to go to training, we help cover that. We do all these things, public works safety zones, safety equipment, body-worn cameras for police. We do all these things so that we can lessen the cost of the risk exposures that we have out there. What do we have for you all? Well, we have this. Because you guys are the board of directors of this municipal corporation. And there's almost no opportunity to serve on a board of directors. Usually, if you're on a board, you are a glorified volunteer. And you're supposed to help put up chairs, wipe tables, and go get money from your neighbors and your businesses. So if you're on the chamber board, you're supposed to help raise money and man the events. Church trustee, deacon, whatever the board is made up of the church. Maybe you have some policy role there, but probably not. It's hard to get board of director experience nowadays. I apologize for drinking all the water, but allergies. So that's what you guys are, but how do you get experience being a board of directors? Well, we think this training is a good answer to that. If you will turn to page, see, here's what I'm talking about. I think they do this to me on purpose. Can't be page one, it's in the middle of the book. See, the page looks like this?
Yep. Where's that here?
I think that one, or page one ought to be. Keep it from, you see, page looks like this, Mr. Chairman? You already
There it is.
Midway.
Recognition?
It's the page one of the
Tell you what,
presentation.
we're gonna have a meeting about what, how the number line goes.
Said it's in the middle of the book?
Where else would page one be?
That's right.
Yeah, so,
It depends on which page one you refer to.
Oh, that page one.
You can tell this book's been had several iterations. Keep it going, don't quit. When you get something that looks like that, you're there.
It's almost dead center.
OMAG believes that best-run cities and towns have fewer claims, and the claims you guys do have cost less money to resolve. We're in the claims-paying business, and so you guys are the board of directors of this municipal corporation. Turn the page. You guys are in the process business, but at the bottom of the page you just turned, there's a slide that says duties, resources, and jobs. So turn over to your essay question part of your answer sheet, and I'm gonna tell you what your duties, your resources, and your jobs are. And you can see how well we agree or we don't agree. You have 3 duties, and these are the duties you have as a board of directors. You guys are no different than the board of directors of Google, or Walmart, or Devon, pick your corporation, ConocoPhillips, BOK. All the board of directors have these same duties. You have the duties of care, obedience, and loyalty. What does the duty of care mean? The duty of care means that when you get your agenda packet, do you produce those? When the clerk gets your agenda packet produced, and you get it either electronically or in person, that you read it and you understand it and you ask your questions before the meeting starts. Why would you ask questions before the meeting starts? Is that so that there's no questions at the meeting? No, it's so that you thoroughly understand the material that you're going to be asked to discuss or act on.
Can I ask a question about that?
This is interactive, I wish you would.
Okay, Open Meeting Act. We're all running scared a lot of times from Open Meeting Act. So we have a question about our agenda packet and everything. Who in when can we talk to other councilmen or whatever and not be, overstepping our open meeting act?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, and look, I don't know anything new or original. All we do is like a Maytag on a spin cycle. We go around the state, we get good ideas, we get bad ideas, we say, do this, don't do that. So, I mean, it's not like 6 + 7 = 13. It's like a best practice. So I'm reading my agenda packet, and we're gonna talk about replacing the sewer line at Third and Hoppy Toad Road. I would direct my question to the mayor because he is the chief executive officer of this organization. And I'm depending on what you all's organizational polity is. I would also then ask the engineer or the public works director or the sewer director about what it is that I have a question about on replacing the sewer line at Third and Hoppy Toad Road. I might have a question about finance, and then I'd ask the mayor and I'd ask the finance director, which may or may not be you. I wouldn't ask these folks, because these folks, y'all are volunteers, and I would ask the people that's charged with doing the work. They're the ones that are most likely to give you the answer. And if it's gonna go through the mayor, so the mayor has a list of what concerns and questions are, so he can help better inform everybody next time around, that would be a good clearinghouse. I wouldn't ask these folks, because then you're gonna run afoul of open meeting law. But there's really, in my opinion, there's really no reason for you to ask Travis. Travis doesn't know anything more about it than you do. Ask the engineer, ask the finance director, whatever your question is. So why do we ask our questions in advance? We do it so we can exercise the duty of care, which means we understand everything we need to know before this part of our lap hits the top part of the chair. When we do that, now we're ready to ask questions and discuss or vote. Doesn't mean you'll vote the way he does. It means you're prepared when you get here. That's your first duty, the duty of care. So if the first time you crack open your agenda packet is when you plop down in the chair, then you have failed the duty of care. So let me give you an example of failing the duty of care. I'm in a little town, not very far from here, south, and they're a town form of government. And so I always go last when I don't get a special meeting, which thank you for giving me a special meeting. And so a lady with a skirt and high heels shows up, she starts handing out books. She's the auditor. Here's your audit. Will you turn to page 6? Will you turn to page 1 in the first of the book? Will you look at footnote 7B? Okay. We think everything's materially presented, and we need you to have better separation of duties. We say this to all the towns we go to. Are there any questions? Anybody on that little town governing body exercise the duty of care? No, it's impossible for them to. Why? Because they got handed the audit in the middle of the meeting.
That happened here in the previous administration. 70-something page audit report, and we had to vote on it that night, and I was upset.
Well, as a matter of fact, and let's not just let me lecture, let's talk to each other, okay? Matter of fact, no, you don't have to vote on it.
I voted no,
Well,
because they
Well,
forced a vote
Well, I don't know who they is, but
previously.
in order to have a vote, you gotta have a motion, a second, and then everybody's gotta discuss, and you fail the duty of care when that happens. Another thing is, this is an aside, but you should never vote to approve an audit. Don't ever vote to approve an audit. You had nothing to do with the preparation of that audit. You're voting to receive and file the audit. You're not approving that audit. So if you've been doing that, stop it, don't do it in the future. So you guys are in charge. And one of the things that you need to do as a policy board, right? You guys are a policy board. So what do? What's a policy board do? You make policy. How do you do that? I suggest the best way to make policy is by resolution. Cheaper than the ordinance, easier to change, doesn't have to get published in the paper. An ordinance has the weight of law, but a resolution has a weight of a sense of the governing body, right? Why would you do that in a resolution form? Well, you do it two ways. Number one, maybe you're not happy with the way things are going right now. I heard that several times. And number two, in 2033, you'd like whoever's sitting in your chair to know what you guys do and why you do it that way as an orientation document. You know how people get orientated in city council chairs all across the state? Hey, Travis, thanks for serving. This is where you sit. This is yes, this is no, try not to break nothing. Orientation's over. That's the way it goes. All 77 counties. That's the way it goes. If you have a book of if you have a resolution book that's by topic and not date, then if that's handed to somebody that's newly elected or newly polled, and the topic is audit, and the resolution is, we will select an auditor by January of every year. The audit will be complete by October of every year. And, you know, we will have the audit 3 weeks in advance of the meeting before it'll be presented. The audit will be presented in person. Very rarely do the auditors show up around the state and present them in person. Now, a sense of the governing body, a sense of the policymakers is, this is how we're going to do our audits. And when your neighbor gets to sit here in 2033, they've got a resolution book, oh, an audit, I wonder what we do, there it is, oh, this is how we do it. Well, I don't like the way we do that. Well, you guys can change it by majority vote, and then an amended audit, amended resolution will go in the resolution book. You guys are then in the decision-making business, and I want to talk to you before we're done about timing of decisions. Because most of what we do is routine in nature, and we ought to be able to look up, because here's what we do most of our time. You guys want to see how we spend most of our time? What's right in front of us? We got to peek up over the horizon and look down the road. It's hard to do it. It's much more comfortable to do what's in front of us. But you know that pump number 3's got about a year left and it's going to need some extra maintenance. And you knew that the boss needed to know pump number 3 is going to have to be replaced in a year. You knew that he needed to know that so that when it seized up, hopefully you had it replaced beforehand. You got to look down the road. And so, Chris, you're in charge, the governing body's in charge of setting policy. You do it best by having a resolution book. Majority vote, hopefully unanimous, doesn't have to be, on the topics that are important to the operation of the organization. Duty of care, we're prepared when the meeting starts. Any conversating about that? A good resolution for resolution book. And your resolution book, you're directing not only yourselves, but you're directing the mayor, you're directing how things are going to be presented to you. So you could say, and I highly recommend this, and sometimes staff doesn't like this, but I got a full tank of gas so I can get at least as far as Shoto. You might pass a resolution. Our agenda packet will contain this. It'll be complete, and no one will turn in anything that's not an absolute emergency at least 10 days before the meeting. The agenda will be delivered at least 4 days before the meeting. Well, what if you already do it that way? What's the point of passing a resolution? Well, it's not just you're not just talking to yourself, you're talking to the future, right? Makes things go better, because the last thing you want is your tenure to get over and somebody like me that's a yahoo get on and start tearing up everything out of ignorance. Wouldn't it be better? If you go to work anywhere big, you're going to get 2 pieces of paper. Well, you're going to get a piece of paper and a book. You're going to get a job description that's going to tell you how to win at your job, and you're going to get a handbook that tells you what the organization's about, what the benefits are, and why it's a good deal to work there. That's why we have a handbook in a Word document format for every form of municipal government at omag.org on our recognition page. you guys should look, review, consider, and adopt a handbook for the governing body, not the employees, the governing body. It's a great orientation tool. Obedience, what does obedience mean? It means you guys as policymakers will do whatever the federales and the state make us do. You'll do whatever previous boards have adopted by ordinance or resolution until you change them, modify them, or do away with them, or create new ones, which is in your power to do. Loyalty, what does that mean? It means your hat says Pryor on it. It doesn't say police department, parks department, high school football coach thinks, school superintendent wants, donut shop brain surgeons have come up with this idea. It means what's best for the entire organization. So a long time ago, when I was at Okie State, they taught me that the definition of politics is who gets what when. That's what politics is, who gets what when. And when you all make a budget, you allocate resources, and you decide who gets what when. And everybody doesn't get everything all at once because we don't have that much money. So, I live over here in the used to be better subdivision. It used to be better. And I got a janky road I drive on. I call Travis up every Friday afternoon, I wear him out.
How did he know I was on the street committee?
Wear him out. But the road that goes to the grocery store, you guys are expanding it and putting a turn lane in and a traffic signal. And that makes sales tax money, and you need that. So you put all your money into fixing the road that goes to the grocery store. And there's no money left for my janky road goes to my house in the used to be better subdivision. But your hat says Pryor on it, and it's not better for you because I'll leave you alone if you fix my road. It's better for the entire organization. So you're gonna spend all your money over here. I'm gonna tell you guys anything new or that you don't kinda know. You won't get in your car and think Bill's a bright boy. I'm telling you stuff you already know. But you have to put it into practice if you're gonna be effective as a policy-making board. Now, what are you gonna tell me? You're gonna tell me, Bill, in fiscal year 24-25, we're gonna fix your road. I'll fight for you. But right now, we're gonna throw some coal patch in that, and we're gonna get a little compactor. We're gonna get out there every couple of weeks and make sure there's some coal patch in that pothole. I can't overlay it this year. All of our money went over here. Because my hat says Pryor and my loyalty is to the entire organization. Not who I got deer camp with, not who's got a fishing cabin for me, not that the police chief's the best guy in the world. What's best for the entire organization.
I am glad that you just said that to this group,
Well, I say the same thing everywhere I go.
because this really applies to things going on right now behind the scenes that's coming up at future meetings.
Well, you need to, first of all, thank you for saying that, Terry. First of all, you need to know, I've not had any secret backroom talks with anybody. If you guys wanna, follow me next week or next month or next year, you will hear the same thing everywhere I go. This book the same book with the same janky numbers gets handed out everywhere we go, same stability test. You know why? Because the problems everywhere are the same. They are. And the answers are the same. Best practice answers are. Questions, comments, complaints so far? Conversating, you guys break in now. Resources, time, money, and people. You think your most scarce resource is money? It's not. Your most scarce resource is time. The only time you guys are a policy-making board is two things are in place. Number one, the clerk has properly posted an agenda that conforms to open meeting law. Number two, there's a quorum. When you guys adjourn, you're no longer the policy-making board because you lack the key ingredients of having the authority to do so. So, time is your most precious resource. How many times How many regular meetings a year do you have?
24.
24, yeah.
24, give or take a few like this.
Twice a month.
Mhm.
A meeting shouldn't go more than an hour. Except unless I'm talking, it should go as long as I want. If a meeting goes more than an hour, you should call the police. You're being held hostage. If it goes more than 2 hours, they should serve pizza, and you should plan your escape.
So are you saying a city council meeting should not go longer than an hour?
Nope.
Oh.
I can't believe I've been held hostage so many times.
Hey, the last one was 52 minutes.
I can't believe
We did good.
that they haven't given us the pizza. I want my back pay, my back pizza.
If they don't slap pizza under the door,
We don't have
I'd
any
throw a
money.
fit.
Listen, I ordered pizza one time
I
and got
remember-
ridiculed
I remember-
nonstop.
That was
Ordered
what,
pizza.
about 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Something.
I remember that.
You can have a discussion and debate, but you gotta do it within an hour.
Well,
What if you have 15 things on the agenda?
I'm glad you brought that up. Now, I'm telling you what the best practice is. It's not a law. You guys will decide what you're gonna do with the information I'm giving you. Okay? I started my municipal career in 1991, August 1st. So we're bumping up on another anniversary. Doesn't make me the smartest boy in the class. It just means I'm Social Security eligible. So here's the thing that takes your time up. You guys are a policy-making board, okay? And you have a charter and you're a strong mayor, and I'm very less familiar with strong mayor forms of government. I've been to Weatherford several times. I know Mike Brown very well.
I have a question. I have studied our charter extensively, and it more closely resembles, is it aldermanic? Much more closely that than strong mayor.
Yeah, I prepared paperwork today to hand out to you for aldermanic forms of government, but technically you're not an aldermanic form.
But what makes the difference if we're like 95% of what, when we go to OML, we fit that and not strong mayor? You know, we have 8 councilmen. The mayor only votes to break a tie. There's so many critical things that we do not do strong mayor because of the charter. I was just curious if you had an answer for that.
I do know that your charter has a lot of restrictions in it, and I know if let's pause that for just 1 second.
Sure.
I'm getting away from it, let's pause it for 1
Sure.
second. Okay, so what's gonna make a meeting run more than an hour? What's gonna make a meeting run more than an hour is a policy-making board that's doing administrative things. A policy-making board that's doing administrative things is gonna expand the time that you're spending. So if it smells like it's administrative in nature, because of charter constraints or because of statutes that's been passed, or because of the practice that you guys have, you should have a consent agenda. Do you have a consent agenda? I say that your consent agenda should be stuffed like a Christmas goose. If it smells administrative in nature, it should go on the consent agenda. The consent agenda is 1 motion and 1 vote, and everything on the consent agenda says approve. Any one of you all can request the chairman to remove an item for separate consideration.
And we do that.
Quite often.
You should have, if it's administrative in nature, it should go on the consent agenda. I think the spending authority for you is $1,500.
25.
2,500 whopping dollars. So the hydraulic pump on the packer on the trash truck goes out and it's $2,700. He does not have the authority to act on that. It has to go on the agenda. Put it on the consent agenda. Why are you gonna put it on the consent agenda? Because we're talking about the timing of decisions. And you guys already decided a long time ago to keep disease and vermin down, you were gonna pick up the trash. And, so we've got trash trucks. The policy decision is we're gonna pick up the trash. The administrative thing is we're either gonna have Republic or Waste Management or ourselves or somebody else do it. In this example, we're doing it because we gotta replace the hydraulic pump on the packer. So it's administrative in nature to replace the pump. people around the horseshoe know about rebuilding hydraulic pumps. Typically not very many. Maybe Travis does.
Enjoy you.
And so the administrative decision is get the Packer back in service. Let me give you an example of that. It's kind of an extreme example. The city of Sand Springs sits below Keystone Lake. Mike Nunley, when he was town administrator of Manford, said only God can make it rain, only the Corps of Engineers can make it flood. So the city of Sand Springs know that every 3.5 years, the sewer plant's going underwater. So, because they know it's going underwater, they decided way back here. What's wrong, Mr. Chairman?
Nothing.
Okay, so they decided way back here that we want the sewer plant to work. So when it floods, the city manager of Sand Springs doesn't have to go chase down a quorum to say, hey, can I replace the sewer plant pumps and get it rewired? Because they decided back here we're gonna treat poo water before it goes back into Arkansas. Okay? They decided that way back here. And they did it by resolution. So the city manager, it's a council manager form of government, so the city manager has authority up to the entire budget amount to fix the sewer plant when it floods. And then he tells them after it's fixed, what he did and what it cost.
I think we've experienced something like that last year.
Did y'all have a flood?
No, kinda. The mayor did a lot of things and then went and told the council what he did.
Okay, well, the
That's
decision,
the problem. They don't have it this year, but
But he didn't have a pre-approval to do so.
no.
so the difference is, when did you decide? Or
We-
did he just do it on his
He
own?
just did it on his own. That's
Well, I'm
previous.
talking about you guys delegating authority in an organized fashion.
So are you suggesting, just clarification, even if an item like that, let's say we have our own.
Now, in your charter, you're prohibited from going over $2,500 by charter. Go ahead, Mayor.
Are you, and I'm just trying to clarify for my own self, even if that amount superseded that city manager's limit to exceed by resolution, the council hypothetically said, that's okay, that item, you're good. Made a
Zero plan.
resolution, went on, when that came up, he didn't have to say, I know it exceeded my 2,500, but I went ahead and did it because you said it,
Because they decided in advance
right? Right.
for that. And so the point is that we believe you should put authority down as far as it'll go. You should pull information up as high as it'll go. If you think of information like a pyramid or a triangle, there's a whole bunch of information down here. Not very much of it makes it up to the point. You guys are the point. You want to pull that information up as high as it'll go. It's a currency of decision making. And so if your meetings are going more than an hour, it's because you haven't delegated sufficient amount of authority and you haven't put enough things on your consent agenda so that you're having to make these decisions on matters that, quite frankly, almost all the time are going to be routine and administrative in nature. They just are. That's my experience. And so your most precious resource is time. You're in control of your agenda. You should have a consent agenda that's very robust because it's going to be packed full of administrative things that you have not delegated the authority to the mayor for until you do that. Your job is to set a direction through Pryor and say by 2033, we're gonna go here and we're gonna accomplish this. Because Zig Ziglar, when he was alive, said, if you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. And y'all are gonna do one of two things. You're gonna make circles like the children of Israel did in the desert. Here comes 2033, here it comes, there it goes, there it was. You're either going somewhere on purpose or you're gonna make circles and wait for 2033 to go past you. Y'all need to look at the back of your sheet. What did you write down for your duties? What did you write down for your job? Your job is to set a direction for the organization, adopt policies that help staff and the mayor take you to that future state. And then the third thing is to monitor results. That's your job. and nobody else in this town can do that. Everybody gets to have an opinion, and you should listen to it, but only you guys can say, by 2033, we will have gone here and done that. Most of y'all said you got on because things weren't going right here. Okay, let's say by the end of November, you're pretty satisfied that those concerns have been resolved. What are you gonna start doing in December? I don't know what was going on wrong before, but let's say by the end of November, they've been resolved to your satisfaction. What do we start doing in December?
Looking forward.
That's right, we gotta get up on that hill, we gotta look at the horizon, we gotta say, where are we going? Where are we going? And then we gotta adopt policies and resolutions that help staff take us there, and then we've gotta monitor results. We're a 5-year-old in the backseat of the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? We're gonna plow and plant and water and weed and wait, and the good Lord's gonna give the increase. Everything is a process, nothing's an event. Simon Sinek wrote a couple of very successful books, Start With Why and The Infinite Game. None of it's new. He repackaged it, got very wealthy, sold 71 million copies of his paperback. He's got millions and millions and millions of views of his TED Talk and his YouTube. You can just Google Simon Sinek. He says we're playing an infinite game and we're only here for a short time, and during our tenure, we're pulling on the rope to get us to go somewhere. And our tenure will end, we'll drop off, somebody new will come along, and we hope they keep pulling the rope the same direction.
Sure.
Right? Same thing as Hebrews chapter 11. No different. So that's what we're doing. We're pulling the rope a certain direction during our tenure, but we gotta have a direction to go. And only you guys can do that. Everybody else in town gets to have an opinion, only you guys get to vote and allocate resources and hire staff and say, let's go this way, let's accomplish this. And if we're spending the majority of our time fixing things that are administrative in nature, it'll rob us of our time, our most precious resource, to get up on that hill and look at the horizon and say, this is where we should go. You have a staff, you have qualified people that can do administrative things. So, since I've got enough gas to get to Choteau, last time I was here, we engaged in a conversation on keys and locks. I think somebody actually came up and had some locks in front of the mayor. And then folks in the audience, well, Joe and Jimmy Lou and Sammy retired 8.5 years ago, but I bet Sammy's got a key to that gate. That's not policy, guys. And every minute you spend on that kind of stuff, you're robbing your most precious resource. I'm not smarter than you, I'm not better than you. We have a chance just to have a conversation. And I'm just telling you what the best practice is for making the organization work the way that you want it to work. You got elected to do something that you thought was important. There should only ever be 4 things on your agenda. One of them is the future. If the future is not on your agenda, you can't talk about it or act on it.
What page are you on now?
Well, let's just call it page 9, who knows what page it really is. There should only ever be 4 things on your agenda. I'm going the wrong way now.
Page 9 from the front.
Okay.
Page 9.
Yeah.
This might be the next to last time I get embarrassed over page 9. Keep going back a little bit.
You got 2 sets of page numbers.
Yeah, I
This
know.
is the first.
Do I hear 3?
It's like being at an auction, do I hear 3? Do I hear 4? If the future's not on your agenda, you can't talk about it or act on it. And when I go around the state, I see a lot of yesterday and today. We're gonna approve claims and payroll. We're gonna tell Jimmy change the lights at softball field. We're gonna do things that are right here. I don't see very much about tomorrow. I'm not talking about you all specifically. I'm talking about my experience as I go around the state doing this. The future should be on your agenda. What does that look like? Does that look like exotic retreats with little drinks and umbrellas in it? Nope. We're right here. We're not going anywhere. Could be a special meeting. Sand Springs does it 4 times a year at lunch. You can do it however you want to do it. But if you don't have the future on your agenda, and it could be, pick one of the topics off the stability test, you can have an outside facilitator, you can do it yourself, the mayor can facilitate it, it's up to you, but you have to have the future on your agenda. There's lots of stuff happening over here on this side of the state that the rest of the state would love to have. I go to INCOG lunches once a month, and the stuff I hear that's going on over here makes you blink like a toad in a hailstorm. The rest of the state would die to have what you guys got going on over here. I'll give you an example. There's a town where a red-headed woman cooks biscuits, and people from Germany come over and line up to eat her scrambled eggs and biscuits. I've eaten their food's good, but it's a biscuit and a scrambled egg. I wouldn't go to Germany to eat their scrambled eggs and biscuits, but they do. But one day, she'll go the way of Paula Deen. And that town needs to be capitalizing on those tour bases today. And they're not. And they're not.
How do you suppose they do that?
How would you capitalize on it?
Yeah. Say Pryor had scrambled eggs and biscuits.
Well,
We've got a few restaurants, but none run by a redhead.
I would,
Just an example is what I'm.
I would have done some economic development that would have had some lodging in place. I would have had some complementary businesses to go along with it. I'd have had the tribe involved in it, because Osage got a lot of money. And we'd have got some housing stock started. People in Winona stop and say, hey, do you got any red houses? Because there's none in Hominy and there's none in the town up north. They're all, they're full of VBRO or Airbnb or. That ship has sailed. The future should be on your agenda. You can do it by resolution. This many times a year, we'll talk about the future at a minimum. What does the future look like? It could look like a grant. That's the future. Could look like a development. Could look like how we're gonna do zoning. Lots of things. Policy/culture, there shouldn't be much work left to do on that. Monitoring results. And then the final thing that should be on your agenda are decisions that exceed the authority granted, and we talked about that with Sand Springs Sewer Plant.
Would an example of that be, of what you talked about planning, would be like have a yearly strategic planning conference?
Yes, but I would do it more than annually.
Oh, well, I just do that as an example, but
Annually would be good. Your budget is a 12-month short work plan, and it should be pulling the rope towards that strategic goal that you guys have decided on. So if you're gonna decide on your strategic goal in March of the year, well, then in October, you need to have follow-up. We're halfway through our short-term 12-month work plan, and we made any progress. Where are we at on that grant? Where are we at on our partners? When y'all's phone number comes up on your county commissioner's phone, or the tribe's phone, or the senator's phone, or the representative's phone, or the congressman's phone, or the U.S. senator's phone, they ought to know Pryor's calling. You guys probably do that, but a lot of towns don't take advantage of those partners. Department of Commerce Secretary gets your number on his phone, he needs to know who you are, because you've already been wearing him out. I know Jimmy was very good working those things, but that's part of the job, because you don't have enough money to do it on your own. Again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but that's part of the future, is forming partnerships, right? Let's turn back a couple of pages and we'll get close to concluding with this. We're back on page 3. Who knows which page 3 it is? One of them looks like this, one like that.
Blue number 3 or black number 3? Black. The second set of numbers.
Closer. Help you guys make me.
It's the
Oh,
black,
that one.
the black 3, second set of numbers.
Got it.
Close, this is where we're at before, it's got the tree on top.
Right here. Simon.
Simon Sinek wrote 2 books. He got real famous to start with why. We've already talked about the infinite game. Simon says, and he likes to compare Apple and Microsoft and talk about computers, but we can't find anybody that will write a business book for municipal government, so we have to steal private sector books, and so we use Simon quite a bit. And Simon says that the most effective communicators start with why. He said most everybody else starts on the outside and works their way in, because the outside, the what, is the most concrete thing you all do. Says everybody knows, this is what Simon says. Simon says everybody knows what they do. Some people know how they do it. Very few people know why they exist, why they do it. So when he's talking about Apple and Microsoft software, he says it's the why is not to make a profit, that's a byproduct of the why. So we've adopted this to municipal government. You guys have 2 whats, you have 2 missions. You have 2 missions. It's the same reason people clumped up thousands of years ago. They did so for 2 reasons. One, to be safe. One, to trade with other people. So your first what is to increase public safety. That's not just police and fire, that's water, it's safe to drink, that's sewage water that's been properly treated, streets are passable, your public spaces are clean, attractive, well-lit, safe, public safety. Your second what is the second reason people clumped up, and that is they traded. I had this, you had that, we traded. Your second what you do is economic development. It's vital to do it in Oklahoma because we operate off sales tax, not property tax. So we have to be in the economic development game.
Excuse me.
That's your 2 whats. Your how do you accomplish that in this form of government is through the mayor and the department heads. That's how you accomplish your 2 whats. What is your why? Why does your organization exist? When I'm in Tahlequah, I tell them it's not because that's where the tribe got relocated. When I'm in Durant, it's not because that's where people came up after the war. When I'm in Woodward, it's not because that's how far the horses would run in the 5th land run. That's not why, that's not their why. Every town, every city has the exact same why. And it should be your true north. It's the thing that you're aiming for in 2033. It's why you allocate resources the way you do. Here's your why. It's the same as Woodward's tonight, and Bartlesville's, and Ponca, and Muskoge's, and every other town. Your job is to create the kind of community that attracts quality individuals who want to live and work and raise their families here. Your why is to attract quality individuals, people of high character who want to live and work and raise their families here. That's your job. That's how you perpetuate a culture that's sustainable over time. As policymakers, that's what you should be concerned about and involved with. Any conversating on duties or jobs? Anybody agree with me on duties and jobs? Anybody disagree and care to tell me why they think their answer is more better? Questions, comments, complaints?
Are we ready to get back to the mayor, strong mayor form of government, what the definition of that is?
Well, no, I can get you that answer. I've got a very good answer for Alderman Matty, for town and council manager. Strong mayor is the chief administrative officer of the town.
Well, I understand strong mayor is, he does not vote. There's 1 councilman from each ward, and we got 2 councilmen from each ward, and the mayor doesn't vote. That's back to alderman type.
Plus, we have an elected city clerk, treasurer, and police chief.
Yes,
Yeah, you guys look an awful lot like an aldermanic form of government.
that's what I,
Is your police chief
described.
elected?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
like I said, it's about 95% what
if
I
I was in
gather.
an aldermanic town, I couldn't tell you one thing different than what you guys do.
Thank you.
that's what I was thinking.
Which means that at some point in the past, either by charter or your organic document that started Pryor Creek however many decades ago, you guys elected to be a
So what supersedes what?
Your charter and state, the two things that control, Mr. Trammell, are your charter and state statute. So under Title 11, controls is a state statute that controls every form of government. Town, council manager, strong mayor, aldermanic.
Right.
Aldermanic's often referred to also as weak mayor form of government. And I can get you a copy of Title 11 and the part that deals with strong mayor. But apparently you guys have modified the duties of the mayor through your charter. And if you guys have not reviewed your charter individually, that'd be a good orientation tool. And that'd be a good topic for a resolution. What goes into an orientation process? Now, I'm assuming that the mayor prepares and presents the budget. And you guys have a public hearing and a public workshop on the budget.
Public hearings? No.
Well, we take it to the budget committee first,
Right.
and then it's brought from there, once there, it comes to the council for final approval.
But you don't have a public hearing on the budget.
No, just that.
When you talk about that in a process and protocol, does the budget committee, is it part of their job or their duties to whittle away and make changes to that budget?
They can.
Before it goes to the council?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
in the past, we had done it,
Okay,
yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea, is the budget committee can make recommendations and changes.
okay,
And then as they make those adaptations, it goes to council as they
okay,
send it to council.
thank you.
So, so you stumped the chump. I will do my homework, which I apologize, I didn't do an adequate job before because, it sounded like you all were automatic and all I had to do was.
You said you did have copies of that.
I do, but it's aldermanic, it's not strong mayor, it's not strong mayor.
Could we get a copy of that, please?
Sure.
Actually, it's probably appropriate what you have. The OML puts out the different summary sheets.
Right.
And ours follows almost to a T, not strong mayor.
Thank you.
Aldermanic.
Okay, I got yours.
Okay.
See, the tricky thing about that is, and I've discussed this in length with OML, is what makes us different than the standard is the charter, self-created charter. And so we kind of like our own little deal out here.
You guys have had a charter election recently, maybe in the last 5 years, to change your form of government, and that vote failed. And so you have the same
Thank you.
form of government now that you did have. But this is from Title 11, Section 9, and this is the aldermanic form of government.
The governing body shall consist of the mayor, who is elected at large, which does apply to us, 1 or 2 council members from each ward, which applies to us. But it doesn't mention anything in here about the police chief or the city clerk and all that being elected.
No, this isn't all of Section 9. This is the part that I thought would apply to you all.
Okay.
But if we were an aldermanic form of government, if we were in Haskell, clerk, treasurer, police chief, mayor, all those folks are elected. There'd be 2 of you all from each ward. If we were in Poto, exactly the same thing. Scotty White over there. Any aldermanic form of government. I was in somewhere the other day, and they had 2 people from each ward. Well, that's just a hangover from when they changed from being aldermanic. And they didn't, for political reasons, they kept it that way. I will get you guys a copy of Title 11 that deals with strong mayor. Because that's your foundational document, you need to be comfortable with that.
Didn't that come out in that?
If you want to email that to me, I can get it to them.
Yes, sir, I will. I'll work very hard to have that tomorrow.
I think so.
Yeah, it's in there.
What concerns do you guys have otherwise? I know most of you all said that you got elected because you didn't like things that were going on, and now it seems like, or perhaps things are on the right track now or getting there. Is that correct? Or am I wrong about that? Or is there a division about that? Or is that something you'd rather not discuss right now?
I'll say
What-
that there was such a multitude of things that needed correcting that it was impossible to accomplish everything immediately.
Yeah, we're in a working stage, I think.
Okay,
And I think the working stage is gonna cost us more time to get it to where we wanna go. I don't think it's as simple as set it down, vote yes, and leave. We're not to that point yet.
I think there, in the past, and I'm gonna speak pretty freely and openly, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I think there was a definite establishment of trust in the past. And so as we move forward, I think the common goal is, as everybody said, we wanna get things done the right way. We wanna kinda get the city on the right track and get things, moving in a productive, wholesome manner. You and I had our conversation about our meetings, and immediately we implemented a lot of those changes. And I think we're seeing some fluidity as we make some adaptations to things. But, council and Bill, not everything comes smoothly. Sometimes we're gonna hit bumps and ridges along the way, but I think the common goal that we're all, I wrote down, sorry guys, I wrote down all of what you said on why you serve. Generically, everybody enjoys serving, and everybody wanted to see the city go in the right direction. I think it's amazing that, when we look at it as a very broad spectrum, we're all here with the same purpose. We're all here with the same desire, except for Malora, he was appointed. I'm just, but he still loves to give back, and that's the same thing. We love the service, and we want to do what's right. We have hurdles that we're gonna have to overcome. We are, as a team, as a group, as a community, but presenting ourselves as a common front is gonna be the healthiest thing. And I think kind of what Bill has tried to share with us tonight is we need to come to our meetings ready to go. And it's a decision-making, not a, what would you call it?
I know what he did call it, but I don't think you wanna say it. But,
What, battleground?
no, show.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking
They're
about.
on
Bruce?
Yeah,
It's kind of like shooting beavers, Bruce.
yeah, I know it.
I think you guys need to decide what your most important 2 or 3 things that you wanna work on most immediately are. And that's what you should do. City of Coweta decided long time ago that they had a real problem with the entrance to their town. The entrance to their town was a state highway that went under a railroad overpass. Railroad overpass was derelict, the state highway was narrow and dangerous, there was a school over here, and that's how you got introduced to Coweta, Oklahoma. They had a meeting that set their priorities, and they decided the entrance to our town is the biggest priority that we have. So the mayor decided, as council manager form of government, the mayor said, we're gonna put it on the agenda till it gets fixed. They have no control over ODOT. They have less control over the railroad. The railroad thinks they're their own country. So as they went along, sometimes ODOT wouldn't return their calls or answer their letters, so they would pull the tail of the state senator, the state rep, to pull the ODOT person, and then they would return a call. Railroad decided they didn't like talking to Coweta anymore. So they drafted a resolution, said that their janky overpass was derelict, a public nuisance and danger, and they were gonna tear it down. They sent a draft of it to the railroad before the meeting. They said, as a courtesy, we'd like you to know this is in line to be placed on an upcoming meeting. Did they have the authority to tear it down? Got the railroad to call them back and talk to them. But the mayor said, because we're gonna plow and plant and water and weed and wait, just like the Apostle Paul told the Greeks at Corinth, everything's a process, nothing's an event. Like Simon said, we're playing an infinite game. It stayed on their agenda every time they met for 120 months in a row. At the end of 10 years, they had a new railroad overpass and a new state highway entrance to their town. Now, if it had got done in 8 years, it would have got over in 8 years. If it got done in 12 years and they quit at 10, it would have never got done. and people came and went during that 10 years, different faces and different seats. But the town said, this is our priority, we've set our priority, this is what we're going to fix. At hair lips the Pope, this is what we're gonna do. And they kept it on every agenda for 10 years. And some of it was not much to report, some of it was, Mayor, ODOT won't call us back, call our state rep. Some of it was, we're gonna tear down the overpass, send a letter to the railroad. So you guys need to decide, what is your two or three most important pressing priorities for the community, for your organization. You need to codify that by a resolution, and that's what you need to work on. And it sounds to me like you need to work on trust. You can't delegate authority if you don't have trust. Stephen Covey's boy, Stephen M.R. Covey, wrote a book 15 years ago called The Speed of Trust. Trust is either the lubricant or the friction in decision making. Low trust, high friction. High trust, decisions get made quicker. You get down the path quicker. So what do you need to do to improve and increase trust? Well, one of the things you need to do is you need to increase clarity. Clarity. How do you do that? You have a properly constructed agenda packet that gets delivered to you far enough in advance that you can exercise the duty of care. You read it, you understand it, you ask your questions before the meeting, and now you have clarity, which means you can have better meetings, which means you can increase your trust because you have the information you need to trust. Trust degenerates in darkness. When you don't have the information, your trust goes down low. When your kid's supposed to be home at 10 and it's 10:30, trust is low, you don't have the information, you don't know where they are. They're home at 9:30, you're a little suspicious about that maybe, but you know where they are, right? So you can start by increasing your clarity, and you increase your clarity and your understanding by how you construct your agenda and when it gets to you, and the communication path that you guys agree on. Because a lot of your time, I'm guessing, gets taken up in meetings because either you lack clarity or you lack understanding or you just don't trust the information is complete. I'm guessing that. Nobody has told me that. But that's how you build or degenerate trust.
So I have a comment and then I have a question. I've sat here all night and listened. I've been an auditor for 32 years now, a government auditor for 32 years. Trust is what leads to fraud, waste, and abuse throughout the government at all levels. I get it, you have to trust, but you gotta verify. And you gotta verify on a recurring basis. But my question is, I thought OMAG sold insurance to the municipalities. That was your mission, that's your job. So everything you said tonight, I thought we were coming here to learn about risk management and mitigating that risk. We haven't had that discussion at all. What does what you said about all night about how we manage our meetings relate in any way to risk management and mitigating that risk? I'm very confused on what OMAG's role is.
Okay. Well, that's probably a reflection on my ability to communicate, but I appreciate your voice and your concern and your question.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How did you decide to have this meeting tonight? We didn't know about it for 2 days before, and all of a sudden it was an emergency meeting to have. I just wondered how it come it was tonight, not next week, or how'd that come about?
I wasn't in charge of the scheduling of the meeting. I was requested to attend.
Okay, fair enough.
So there should only ever be, Mr. Trammell, there should only ever be 4 things on your agenda. The very last thing, and maybe I went over it too quick, or maybe I need to reiterate it, is monitor results. You can't have trust if you don't monitor results. And we think the best run cities and towns have fewer claims, and the claims they have cost less money to resolve. Towns that are broke don't pay attention to their sewer, their water, they don't hire competent people.
But they trust blindly. That is why Pryor is in the problem it is right now. We blindly trusted in the past, and I'm not this mayor.
Thank you.
Not this
Thank you
mayor,
for that clarification.
but in the past,
Yeah.
previous to this administration, we blindly trusted,
Well,
and we're bankrupt.
And we're hurting
close
right
to it.
now because of it, because nobody would challenge the thought of the last administration.
Or
And
if
if
you did,
challenge-
or if you did challenge, you was persecuted for it.
And
Challenge
so
it.
whatever he said was gospel, and that's the way it was, and everybody fell for it. We had a $400 million grocery store coming to Pryor, but never did make it, cost us $65,000.
But
We can
again,
go on and
that's
on.
not to this mayor, I wanna make that clear.
Go ahead, I was gonna make a
so
comment.
your role as a policymaker is not to blindly trust. You should have 4 things on your agenda, and maybe those shouldn't be last, but you should monitor results. So if you, Mr. Trammell, a risk management tool is to have a resolution book that says how we're going to operate. When we're gonna have our agenda packets presented to us, what backup material's gonna be in it. I gave the example of the auditor and the audit in the little town. So there's nothing about blind trust. You guys are the ones that approve the budget, which means you guys are the ones that allocate resources. And so what this has to do with risk management is you have proximate cause and you have root cause. The proximate cause is the thing that happened right now, but the root cause is what happened when I started from here and started walking over there. The root cause is here, around this horseshoe and around every horseshoe in every 77 counties in the state. You all are the ones that allocate resources, make a budget. In this particular form of government, I think you have a role in personnel.
We do.
And
Mostly approval, but we do.
And so when somebody tells you, some economic development tells you, hey, I've got this secret whoop-de-doo thing, but I can't tell you what it is, that's not acceptable to you because you have to have the information on which you're gonna allocate your resources.
Thank you for that comment.
And so you have to monitor results.
A little bit
So
late.
you should have a resolution, you all are a policy-making board. You should have a resolution that says, this is what our financial reports are gonna be. This is the format, the content, and the frequency of our financial reporting. And you should agree on what that is. And if it's pictures, you should say, we're gonna have pictures. If it's gonna be numbers and pictures, you should say that. If it's gonna be words, numbers, and pictures, you should say that. Because the root cause of what goes right or wrong is around this horseshoe. I'm not throwing rocks, I'm telling you, you guys are the authority, you're the policy-making board, you're the board of directors of this corporation. The yellow trucking line is going out of business today. It's because their board of directors made a series of bad decisions over a long enough period of time that they failed, and they are now bankrupt. And so, if you're dealing with things that are right here in front of you, then you're not engaged in making the policies that you need to have the monitoring of the results so that you can have the trust that you need so that you can do the long-range planning that you need. Because the things that cost us money are broke towns. Because broke towns hire poor people to be cops, or sewer workers, or librarians. Because if you're broke, you make bad decisions and you're in a desperate situation. It's no different for cities and towns. I was in a town last week, and they had one of the TV stations there because they had a bunch of bottles of water on the TV's trucks, cars, hood, and all the water's brown and sludgy. It's a different form of government. And they can't purge their lines because every time they put too much pressure in the lines, they break. Because they're all janky and they've never been replaced. And so, one of the things, because when they adjourn their town board meeting and they take off that hat, then they put on a hat that says, Hootyville Water Company. Actually it says Public Works Authority, but it's Hootyville Water Company. They're running a water company. I asked them, for example, can you tell me how much money it costs to get a bucket of water out of the water treatment plant into my bathtub? Nobody knew the answer to that. Walmart knows how much money they make on bottled water. But the people who are running the Hootyville Water Company don't have any idea how much this bottle of water, this tub of water, this bucket of water costs to get out of the water treatment plant and into my tub. They don't know what they're lost and unaccounted for is. about being a board of directors and having a resolution book and setting the standards about what's gonna be reported and what's gonna be recorded and what's gonna be, required is the mundane work of, okay, water plant superintendent, we need to know what's it cost to make a bucket of water and get it into Bill's bathtub. And then we need to know what our margins should be on that bucket of water. Because if we don't know that, then we're not gonna have the money to replace the lines and the pumps and the filters and to remediate the storage tanks. And to know if we need to drill additional wells, or if we need to get in cahoots with a rural water district, or if we need to lay a line to the lake, or get in bed with another town. Because information is the currency of decision-making. And we don't have the information to make the decision. So the real work of a policymaking board is to work with your staff to determine the things that you need to know and to set the standards for the reporting. And nothing, absolutely nothing should be blind faith. So Mr. Trammell, I guess my best answer about why this is risk management is because we're looking at root cause, which starts at the policy board level.
How long has the city of Pryor employed you?
Pardon me?
How long has the city of Pryor had OMAG?
Oh, I have no idea.
Quite some,
Decades.
quite some time.
Have you ever did you come to the previous administration and council and talk to them?
Yeah.
I was here, I think when, Mr. Trammell's tenure ended and the former mayor's tenure began. I think I was here the first meeting.
So this class was held when Jimmy was still in office.
Mm-hmm.
And I requested Bill to do this class. You know, it may not make a whole lot of sense when you look at it right now, you know, like he talks about the right here. But, you know, I took a class also next week. Every one of you knew before the election that I was big on training. And I made it clear we were gonna do whatever it took. Even Courtney and I discussed training is important. Last week in Kuwait, I took a class and it didn't cost anything, but it was performance management was the name of the class, right? So I get in there and I find out that I'm the only man in the class, right? It's a bunch of HR personnel, and here I am as the mayor. But I'm gonna tell you, the things that I learned in there weren't anything new. But the things that stuck out, and it was put on by OMAG. But the little things, like Bill's talking about risk management, one of the things that we discussed in there was disengaged employees. Does anybody know the cost, and this is based on national studies and surveys, the cost of a disengaged employee to a company? It's a very definite number, $220,000 per employee, based on risk management and risk loss. And so what did I learn in that? I learned that it's important for me to find a way to make sure all of my employees, not necessarily council, but city employees, are engaged, that they feel like they have value within the system. So this class, you know, if anything comes out of this, you know, I've got some notes. And one of the things that I think I would like for us to try out of this that might help some of the situations that we're facing are, what are the two most or three most important things that we want to focus on independently? I'd like to know independently what Gonthier would like to focus on and what Choi would like to focus on. I'd like to take those and bring them back to you. I'd like to know that. And how that works into risk management, it's like you said, was Sepulpa with the dam, Sand Springs. They were able to get that, not just the repair, but they were able to navigate themselves through a situation without a loss of time, without a loss of resource, without a loss of trust and things like that. And I think that's where I'd like to help us get to is, you know, not necessarily repairing dams, but maybe repairing dams.
That was sort of our comprehensive plan too.
Sure.
I mean, that's
So,
basically.
you know, if we look at this as what can we take out of it? You know, I learn why you guys all wanted to serve. I learned that, you know, the administrative decisions versus the legislative decisions. What are we doing? You know, the notes that I took were, how could this help us in this, as a city in the long run? Mitigate our time, mitigate our efforts. You know, you talk about blind trust. I'm with you, never blind trust anybody. especially preachers. But the idea is, sorry, Chris. My mom always said, never trust them blindly, do your own prayer and research, right? But that's how this works too. You guys get to do your own research and your own due process, as we call it. And then we come together and we make those administrative decisions together that move us forward. So I
I'm
think,
glad you're encouraging us to do our own individual research into the matters that's on agendas and packets.
And I just
And it
want to make
takes-
a comment to the mayor that I agree with you. I frequently encourage my congregation to double check.
right.
Look it up, make sure what I'm saying is, because I wouldn't intentionally mislead a person. But I am human, I can make a mistake, I may not have all the information, I may not have seen something. And to me, it's all checks and balances. And if we all, because we all have different skill sets, different life experiences, and hopefully with 9 of us, we can more effectively reach good and proper decisions better than we could if there was just one of us.
Well, and I think, a lot of times, let's talk about our those that vote us in. Because everybody up here, everybody at the Bill and Terry is an elected official in this room, right? So what is it that gets us elected? What is it that gets us here? And it's our public image, right? What people perceive of us. And you look at that survey we take, Bill, what did you say was the lowest one every time? Public image. And ironically, even on mine, that was one of the lower scoring things. And so I think if we are working together, we're all focused on the same goals, then, we look like we're a cohesive board, right? The risk management section of that says, we're gonna gain more trust from the community to trust us, not blindly, but they'll trust us when it comes to those hard decisions. Some of those decisions that may come up in the next, 48 hours. The public will trust us more that we're doing the right thing if we're all working on the same deal. And so as we did this last time, I don't know if you remember, Troy, it was very beneficial.
Yeah,
The,
yeah, we
the-
did.
the cohesiveness in the council and the fluidity of the operations of the city as a whole were improved greatly by everybody just being on board and realizing that OMAG it's a great tool, even though they sell insurance. Their job is risk management as well, but they provide phenomenal training. Bill, how much are you charging us for this? Thank you. Again, I didn't pay for that class I took the other day, and even though, that's stuff that I've reviewed for 20+ years, I still came away feeling like I was.
You always learn something anytime you go anywhere.
I did, and if I didn't learn anything, I met a whole bunch of people in neighboring communities that I have a good rapport with, so networking is improved. And so I think the whole idea for me asking OMAG to do this was because I see the benefit of us all being able to come together. I wanna, like I said, I wanna see what your guys' common goals are. And so I'll reach out with that, and I'll when we do that, I'll ask you to do it independently. And let's see where we fall. I bet we're gonna find we all have at least one thing that we all have in common.
Oh, yeah.
So,
About a week after the mayor got elected, he and I had lunch one day, and he told me then that at some point he was gonna have OMAC come to do a training class for us. So it's been on his mind for quite a while.
And you're gonna have further classes.
oh yes.
I expected other towns to be here for it too, instead of just us, but I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, next week is mixing margaritas. Courtney's requested that.
Okay.
Thank you, finally.
Weren't you gonna have a class on just actually the budget and how our budget works too?
Mhm. Yeah, the challenge there is again, we're like the anomaly in the state on our budget, so, it's finding the right thing, but I have reached out to OMAG, I've reached out to, Mike Fina and Daniel McClure with OML, and Melanie, who's an outreach specialist, even as recent as today. And I've said, hey, we wanna host these things, we've got a great facility over at the police station and the library. We want to host these and use those buildings to help other communities come to town. They're gonna buy lunch here. So if anything, we get some dollars out of it, but the idea is, we wanna become a resource for those other communities to come to, so, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for giving this. I learned a lot.
Mhm.
Thank you for letting me come. I appreciate the opportunity, and OMAG is available for anything that you all need. If we can help, we certainly will.
And thank you for dinner.
Please take some sandwiches on.
If I'd have known that there would have been sandwiches here, I would not have gone.
Too late, y'all couldn't
Take
hurt.
one for midnight. Take one for right before bed. All right, I have a motion from Lamar and a second from Choya. When
No
you're ready.
discussion, call for vote.
When you're ready, call for your vote.
Gotta get my thoughts together here. Wait, who made the motion? Terry?
Terry, second by Choya.
Lamar?
Yes.
Shropshire?
Yes.
Malure?
Yes.
Trammell?
Yes.
Gantier?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Did everybody sign in?
I believe so.